Welcome to Excel Magic Trick number 502. Hey, if you want to download this workbook and follow along, click on my YouTube channel, then click on my college website link, and you can download the workbook Magic Trick 502 to 505. In this trick here, we're going to talk all about dates. In our last video, we talked all about time. Now, I've done lots of individual videos about dates, and this is like a one-stop shopping with all sorts of tricks and information about dates. Now, what is a date? Here's a date. Let's just type this in, 2/8/2010, right? Control Enter. It looks like we have a 2, a slash, an 8, a slash, etc. Even when we look up in the formula bar. But boom, that's not what's in the cell. This is formatting. It's programmed to look like this here and here. If we Control 1, that opens up number formatting. And it go from date to general, we can see that there's an actual number in there. That is the number of days since December 31st, 1899. 40,217. Now I'm going to Control Z. Why in the world would they put numbers? Well, it's because we want to be able to do date math. Things like subtract an earlier date, smaller number, from a later date to get the number of days between two dates. Also, we'll see lots of examples. That's just the easy example for why dates are serial numbers. Now let's just look at another example here. We have some numbers here, but let's go ahead and format all of these numbers. Here we type the number in, right? And when we removed the number formatting, going back to general, we saw that that serial number was actually underneath. This formatting is on top, but let's do the reverse. Here's some numbers. Control 1. Let's apply date formatting. Click OK. So now we can see negative dates are not allowed. 0 is silly. It's 1/0/1900. 1, so the number 1, there's the very first Excel day. Excel does not recognize dates before this as serial numbers. Now, why did they pick this date? Mostly because there aren't any outstanding invoices or loans before this date, right? So all the date math we're going to be doing are days after this date. So there we can see we formatted 1, 2, 3. Here's our 40,900, which is 12/23/2011. So that's the essence of it. Once you understand that, then all sorts of amazing things are possible with date math. Now, a couple things about entering dates. 2/8/2010, right? We enter that. But we can also enter a date like 2/8, and then I'm going to Control Enter. It's programmed to have that format. But look up here. It puts the current year in, right? So if you want a different year than the current year, you have to do something different. Now, I'm going to type 8-2. Right? Sometimes people enter this like a figure, right? And then they hit Enter, and they're wondering why it comes up August 2nd. That's because it's programmed to do that. If you really wanted 8-2, you'd have to put an apostrophe or format the cell as text. I'm going to do apostrophe 8-2, right? So then you can see it's aligned to the left, which all text is aligned to the left. And notice all of these dates are aligned to the right. That means that they're numbers. Excel thinks that they're numbers. Now, what about custom number format? I'm going to type in 2/8/2010. Now, why in the world did that happen? You can see it's immediately giving you a visual cue. Hey, I'm aligned to the left, which means I'm a word, not a number. Well, I didn't enter the date correctly, right? All of these methods of entering the date was correct, but it doesn't understand that extra little slash. So if I get rid of it, Control Enter, now it's a date. Now let's Control 1. You have lots of power. General, get you the actual serial number, but custom. All you got to remember for custom is D is day. Watch this. D gives us the day. D, another D, and 3D gives us month. 4 days gives us the whole day. Now, what about month? There's the month, month. Same thing. 3 M's gives us February. 4 M's gives us the whole word. I'm sorry, Feb, and then February. And year will give us the 4-digit year. Now, let's go ahead and do a custom number format. I'm going to put DDDD, comma, space, D/M, let's see, M/, D/year, right? And so then we'll have our custom number format. This is going to come in handy later, remembering that this convention for custom number format. And you can combine it however you want, the M's and D's however you want. But we're going to use it later in a formula. But remember, this is formatting. We are formatting a serial number. There it is. So it's on top. There it is. We can still see that date right there. That's kind of like the in-between thing. Here's what we see on top of the cell. But don't forget, if I were to apply general format, that's the number in the cell. Now, let's go ahead and do some calculations. Always the later date minus the earlier date. Here's our due date. Here's today. We want to find out how slacking these people are. I'm going to take the later date minus the earlier date. That's how you do it. Control Enter. Now, sometimes when you do this, especially in earlier versions, when you do the calculation, it shows up like this. And don't be scared. Just go, oh, forget it. That's formatting. It's sitting on top. What I want is Control 1, General. And then that shows you the general, which is the number, the actual days. That's what we want, number of days. How about adding? We take this loan issue date and add 30 days. So that gives us our maturity date. So here we subtracted, here we added. How many days has this person been alive? The later date, let's say that's today minus when they were born. So this little kid is only 1,387 days old. How about a begin project date, number of days, equals this. Actually, I'm going to do AutoSum, Alt equals. It didn't get both of them. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those, both, and then Enter. So we could do plus, plus, or AutoSum. So that's the finish date for this project. Notice on my fingers, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? It seems like there's 4, but really what we said is here's 3/2, and to it add 3. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how we get the 5th there. These are the days added on top of that, in addition to that date right there. Now, what if we wanted to calculate the end of the month? Right? Since there's varying days, we need an easy way. There's something called the end of month function, equals end of month. In earlier versions, you have to go to Tools, Add-ins, Data Analysis Tool Pack, and add that in to get this. End of month, you just give it a start date. There it is. And then how many months backwards or forwards? Now we want last month, the last day in last month, the last day of this month, and the last day of 2 months in the future. So I'm going to actually type a comma, get to months, hit my right arrow to get that number I have over there, and then Control Enter. So that's if I put in -1 as the second argument right there, how many months? Hey, -1 is 1 month ago. So I can copy this down. And notice I went ahead and put a leap year in here, 12, to show you that it does no leap year. So the end of this month, current month, that's when the second argument is 0, is the 29th of February. All right, now what about the today function? This is dynamic. So if you put this in a cell, tomorrow when you come here, it's going to say 2/9. The next day, it's going to say 2/10, etc. Today gives you just the whole number, the actual date, the serial number. If you use now, that will give you the date and time. The date and time. Now, there's a keyboard shortcut. These are fine. These are dynamic. That's so your spreadsheet always updates, right? But when you are entering transactional data into a data set, and you're always typing 2/8/2010, right? Forget it. You want a keyboard shortcut for today's date. It is Control semicolon. So Control semicolon. That's the keyboard shortcut for today's date. I love that for entering transactional data. Now, how about the eDate function? I want from this date, I want to go 3 months in the future, irregardless of number of days. So I could use eDate, the start date, comma, and notice the screen tip, the second argument doesn't say days, it says months. And this works in reverse too. You can put a -3, and it goes 3 months back. A 0 would be ridiculous because it would be this month. But we want 3 months in the future. So this contract says, right, loan issue date. Sorry, my cursor's not. Loan issue date, and the contract says 3 months in the future, not 90 days, because 90 days would give us a potentially different day. All right, so it just says 2/8, add 3 months, boom, there it is. Now, sometimes from a date, you want to actually extract the day, so we want an 8, or a month, we want a 2, or a year, we want a 2010. So we'll use the day function. I'll show you a great example of how to use this in just a moment. But there it is. That's the bare bones. Day just gives you boop of the serial date. There, not the word I had there. And the month. Month is a particularly useful one because people like to, from data sets filled with dates, figure out what month it is for data analysis. I'll show you an example of that in just a moment. And then, of course, year. If I could only type year. So there, and it'll give me the 2010. Now, let's go see an example of month. This is just a little teeny data set, but imagine if this was huge, right? And you're struggling. You're like, how in the world am I going to summarize by month? You could do a pivot table, and there's lots of fancy formulas, text, and some products. But what if you just wanted to use a simple sum if? Add a new column and use the month function. Boom. That's going to give us 2, 2, 1, right? So then I copy this down. This is a little data set, but imagine if there are 1,000 records. Then you just go, hey, I'm going to summarize for the second month. So I use sum if. The range is going to be your criteria range right there, comma, the criteria is 2, comma, and then the sum range right there. Now, an oddity with this sum if that doesn't work with sum ifs with an S is all you have to do is click on the first cell, because this range right here, the range, the actual number of cells in that range determines how many cells the sum range will look. So all you have to do is click in the first one. I know that's kind of weird, but that's true. It does work. So there it adds up your 7. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut for currency. Control-Shift-4. Control-Shift-4 for currency. All right, so that's how you could use month. There's lots of other great day, month, and year tricks. All right, now we want to see how to use the date function. Whereas day, month, and year give us the day, month, or year, the date function will actually spit out a serial date. So if I go date, the arguments are year, month, and day. So I could do something like this: 2010, comma 2, comma 29. That would give us, this is a leap year, so I better put a 2 here. And this would give us the date. All right, now why in the world would you ever want to do that instead of just typing the date in like we did over here? The reason why is sometimes inside of other functions, since dates are serial numbers and you don't know the 40,112, you don't know the serial number associated with any date, you could use this trick, date, and just type it in and put this whole thing into another formula. Now, let's go ahead and see what is so amazing about this. This day, what if I put 30 here, right? So this is leap year, so there's 29 days. Most functions will give you an arrow saying you can't do that, but this one knows if there's one extra day to go to the first of next month. Similarly, you could put 90, right? And it goes 90 days into the future. Or it goes, it counts the days, right? So there'd be 29, 90 minus 29, so it would be 61 days beyond the end of February. Now, what about putting a 0 here? It knows to go back 1 day. And similarly, you could put, minus 12 or something like that. Now, let's see a practical use for this. Let's say we want the end of the month, and we don't have the end of the month function. Well, the date can help out with that. You can use the year right here, right? So that's the year argument, comma, and then the month. We click right there. Now, right now, all it's doing is it's delivering a 2010 and a 2. Our goal with this formula is get to the end of this month. And it could be whatever date we type in here, we want it to spit out the correct date. Well, what if we went to next month? So this delivers a 2, F9, because this is the February, the second month. What if we just added 1? That'd give us 3, right? Comma. Well, this gives us 3, 2010, if we put a 0 here, boom, it's not going to the first, it's going to the last day of last month. So boom, just like that. And if we change this to 1/8, it should give us January 31st, 2012. Control Z. Actually, I should probably put this formula Control C right up here. Right, so then it's looking there, the end of the month for most of us, but sometimes we have to use this date function. Okay, let's look at a couple other examples for an amazing use for date function. In this month, sometimes people have spreadsheets and they're always dividing up a certain expense by the exact number of days in any month. So a dynamic formula for that would be equals date, and then the year, we'd have to go year, and then use the today function. Whatever the year is of today, that'll give us the year there, right? And if I highlight this and hit the F9 key for evaluate, you could say I'm making this in the year 2010. Control Z, but it's delivering that. And then same thing here, month. And I'm going to do today. And watch this. If I hit, so right now we have, I have to hit close parentheses. Now we have the month right there, but comma. What about the day? I want it the end of this month. Let me backspace. This month right here, I'm currently shooting this in the second month. So if I hit F9, it gives me a 2, right? Well, what if I add 1? That would put me into next month. So I'm plussing 1. So it puts me into next month, comma. And then for day, I can put 0. So it puts me into next month. But as soon as I put a 0 here, the 0 says not the first of this third month, but the last day from last month. And so that's a formula that will give us always how many days. Well, that gives me the date, but then I put the day around this. And there it is, that dynamic formula. There's an actual much better way if you have end of month. So you say day, end of month. You say the start date, today, close parentheses. And then the months, I'm just going to say this month. So end of month, 0, says what's the last day in this month. Now, let me close parentheses on those two and then highlight this. Hit the F9 key. Remember, it gives us a serial number, Control Z, but then that day function interprets that serial number and gives us 28. Right? And so this thing is dynamic. When all of a sudden our calendar day goes to March, I forget how many days there are in March, probably 31, right? So that's a dynamic for a number of days in this month. How about calculating a future date, but we have work days? I have some links for videos for this one, but let's just think about this. Start date. Here it is. I want this, and I want to add to it 15 days in the future for some employee, so I have to skip weekends and a holiday, or for number of business working days for some contract or something like that, a delivery date. So I'm going to figure out a future date using work day. So equals work day. Now, Workday International is a function in 2010 that can incorporate any set of holidays. This workday function that we're going to use just does Saturday and Sunday. Those are the days that it excludes. So the start date is there. The number of days I need to add to it, 1, and then I'm going to add 15 days beyond that, comma, and the holiday, I have one holiday right here. You just list it, and you can have a huge list if you want and highlight them all. And that'll give me February 23rd. Now, another variation on this is, what if I have begin and end, and I need to count the number of net work days? Now, if you're the function we're going to use is net work days, and again, Saturday and Sunday are the holidays. I have a couple videos here for if your Saturday and Sunday are actual work days, and say Monday and Tuesday is your weekend. So here we go, equals net work days. Notice there's the international, totally awesome new one that incorporates any kind of weekend scenario. Net working days, I need the start date, comma, the end date. And the holiday, I'm going to use the same holiday right here. Now, 16, wait a second, you're saying 15 up here. But remember, this is counting all the days. This all the way to this, inclusive and all the ones in between. Up here, we said, hey, this is one day, and to that we add 15 days. So this is exactly the same answer, a slightly different interpretation, because this is counting this day plus all of the 15 work days in between. Counting the number of work days between two dates. Another amazing date trick we have to know is, let's just do control semicolon. That, let's see, this is Monday, right? Control 1, Control Enter to enter it. And I'm going to Control 1 and then add a custom number format. So I'm going to do day. So 3, comma, space, day, m/day/year, right? So now I will Control Enter. Now watch this. We're going to learn a smart tag fill handle trick. I'm going to click and drag. Notice it gives me Saturday and Sunday, but what's that? Totally awesome. Smart tag. I point to it and I say, just look at all these amazing options. Fill days, fill weekdays, fill months, fill years. Is that beautiful? I want to fill work days because this little template I'm building, say, only is going to have the Monday through Friday. Totally awesome. That is accessed through the smart tag. Another thing that people do is, knowing that this is a serial date, we can build a little formula like equals one cell above relative cell reference plus 1, right? And then it automatically has a little template. These are all formulas. Notice this one's just looking at the one before and adding 1. Now, if we change this to, say, 6/8/2010, then all of these update perfectly. Finally, formatting. Remember, this is formatting. By the way, the keyboard shortcut for the general format, Control plus Shift plus tilde, that's to the left of 1. Got to know it if you're doing time and date math. Control Shift tilde, right? Oh, that number right there is actually what's in the cell. Control Z. That is what any formula looks at. Right up here, we did our basic later date minus earlier date. So because we got this answer, we know that formulas look at the underlying number, not the formatting. Well, what happens if we try to build a label like this using concatenation? This is a text formula. We're going to make a label. So I'm going to say equals in quotes, today is space, end double quote. That is just text. That's how you put text into a formula. And then ampersand, Shift 7, that's how you join, right? I want to say today is boom. And I want this to be my label on the whatever, a report or something like that. What? Exactly what we should anticipate. Formulas don't look at formatting. Well, in this case, I want it to look at formatting. Well, you can't technically get it to look at that formula format, at least I don't know how. But we can force the issue by using the text function. Text is built exactly for this. It takes any number and formats it. Now, this is where the custom number format and any custom number format works. We're going to apply date. So I'm going to put in double quotes. It's got to be in double quotes. DDD, comma, space, m/d/y, n double quotes. So that custom number format, whatever it is, has to be in quotes. And that's it. That's how you can get your formula, in essence, to look at some formatting defined by that custom number format. Okay, that's a bunch of tricks about date. So dates in Excel are whole numbers called serial numbers, 1, 2, 3, etc. Number of days. The numbers represent the number of days since December 31st, 1899. So that means January 1st, 1900 is number 1, number 2, etc. If you know that, then all the amazing date tricks in Excel are possible and follow from that fact. All right, we'll see you next trick.